Hi guys, and welcome to my knitting podcast, where I talk to you about the knitting and crochet and machine knitting and just general craftiness that I've been getting up to for the last week. Now, I've been kind of disappeared. I guess you could say it that way. If you've noticed, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know a little bit more what's going on, but I've been in the hospital for exactly 2 weeks. It was kind of unplanned, and I'll talk about it all in life, but if you don't follow me there, that's kind of why I disappeared for the last couple of weeks or so. But I have some updates to share with you on what I've been crafting, and quite a few finished objects, because it turns out whenever you are just laying flat or at a 45-degree angle on a bed, you have a lot of knitting time. So the first one that I'm going to show you is something that you've seen as a work in progress. So this is the finished Musselburgh that I made for my aunt. And this is how the Musselburgh looks before you kind of put it all together. And this is made from a mixture of nylon merino fingering weight and then a silk mohair. So I held 2 strands together, and it's super comfy and cozy. The color is Jamberry, and it's from Blackbird Sycamore Yarns. So I love the way that this looks. It's so cute, and it's going to be so soft. Everybody who's felt this hat has said that it is super soft. And I love the Musselburgh pattern. It is from Ysolda Teague, and it basically allows you to swatch as you go, and it's a whole bunch of round and round knitting, which turns out to be very useful at times. So I'm glad that I had one on the needles. Now, earlier this year, I had kind of promised myself that I was going to always be working on a Musselburgh in the background, just because they are great doing other thing knitting. So this is going to be my second Musselburgh, because that's, I guess, just the way that it goes whenever you're stuck in the hospital. I do love this one. This is the exact same yarn combination as the first, but a different color. I believe this color is Bleeding Heart, and it's super bright. And amusingly enough, I worked on this while I was watching the Barbie movie in the hospital, because they had movies you could watch. And I have never seen the Barbie movie, so that was kind of fun. I mean, kind of, right? Nobody really likes being in the hospital. Especially not unplanned. Now, I love the way this hat feels. Both of these have been blocked. They are different sizes. This one's a little bit longer than this one, and I did that by design. They're both the same size. They're both adult large with a 5.5 gauge, but this one is longer, so you can roll the brim up twice if you want, and this one's a little shorter. So you don't even really have to roll up the brim if you don't want to. I thought a little bit of variety would be good. Now, after my daughter saw these 2 hats, and then she saw that I had extra of both of the yarn colors, she asked me if I would make her basically a Musselburgh like this. Well, you know, where half is this color and half is the other color. I don't know if I'll have enough yarn to do that, but I started it anyways. If worst comes to worst, I can do as much of each color as I can and then add in a different color. I have tons of colors she'll like. But I was really happy to be able to get those done. I've been working on my mom's sweater. I've been working on the Irish gold for her, but working on a big sweater at a hospital in a bed is not ideal. I have some to show you on it, but not much because it just wasn't very comfortable for me. So I know that I've been talking about the Starry Night yarn that I had. It was a Blackbird Sycamore yarn colorway, and it is called Starry Night, and it is very reminiscent of the Van Gogh pattern. So I knit this up for my son because he really liked the yarn, and he had actually asked me if I would get it for him and make him a hat. So I went exactly to the size that I made his other one earlier, like a month or two ago. So it's an adult medium because he likes his hats tighter. And this one actually hasn't been blacked yet just because there hasn't been enough time. I got home from the hospital on Thursday. It's Sunday now, and like everything has been all over the place. So I was lucky to get the other two black. This one will just have to wait a little bit. That's okay. I really do like the way that it knit up, and it does remind me of the Van Gogh pattern. And he's happy with it, which is the most important part, I guess. Well, not I guess, I know. So pretty. He doesn't really like the doubled up. He just likes to wear it like a plain stockinette hat. So that's why that's not long enough to have a brim for him. So while I was in the hospital, I got gifted a pattern by actually Stephanie from Blackbird Sycamore Yarn. She sent me a very nice and sweet get well email and gifted me 2 patterns, and I worked on one of them. And I worked on this yesterday for a little bit, and I made this for my daughter, and it fits very well. And I'm going to put the name of the pattern down below and the designer because I can't remember. The yarn that I used for this was the pink is Lion Brand Touch of Alpaca, and it's acrylic. I believe it's 90% acrylic and 10% alpaca. And the purple is Cascade 220. Just Cascade 220, it's not superwash. So I really did like working on this pattern. I used worsted weight instead of DK. So I adjusted the numbers slightly, but the pattern was super easy to be able to do that. And my daughter really likes it. I know that she's missed me lately, so I figured I would make her a little hat. She's very, very much missed me. I'll talk about that more in life stuff. Now, I have 2 works in progress at the moment, and one I'm not going to show you. One is the start of my next Musselburgh, and it's basically just, I'm still doing the increases, so it's literally just like a circle of pink. I'm using the pink yarn and the purple yarn. It's for my daughter. And the second one is my mom's cardigan. I did get some progress on it, but not a ton. If I really needed just back and forth knitting, like round and round knitting for the last couple of weeks. So that's why there's so many hats. And I mean, it's kind of silly if you think about it, because I'm on the sleeves for this cardigan right now. I just need to like pick the sleeves up and then work them, but I can't do it. I can't do it right now. It's too much. So the last time you saw the cardigan, I wasn't at the point where I was maybe like here. I needed to work a couple more, like maybe an inch or two more, and then do the ribbing. So I've got the ribbing on. I just need to block it, because like the rest of the cardigan's blocked, except the last part I worked on. Yeah, it's not too exciting. It's just the ribbing done there. I know that she'll like it, and I had wanted to get it, I actually I had wanted to get it done like by today, because we're taking our kids over there so that they can dye Easter eggs, but I couldn't do it. Like, I really wanted to, but it was just not gonna happen. I do love this pattern, and it's knit with fingering weight yarn. And this is a size 6, and it's the Irish Gold Cardigan by Joji Locatelli, and I can't wait for it to be done. My mom is really going to like it, and I'll probably feel more like knitting it after next week. I have an immense amount of appointments next week. Man, I'm sorry. I sped right through all the knitting stuff. Like I said, I apologize. My world has kind of been like messed up for the last couple of weeks. So that I'm sorry. That's all the knitting that I have this week. I know it's only 13 minutes, and I apologize, but all I did was work on Musselburghs in the hospital. So I'll go a little bit into what happened to me really quick, but it's side note. If you're squeamish, I mean, it's not gross, but like if bodily fluids gross you out, you probably don't want to listen. Okay, so in November, I had a laminectomy. It's basically what they did was they went into my spinal cord and cleaned out a tumor that I had and cysts. And when I say a tumor that I had had when I was 10 that they weren't able to get out completely. So they did that. They sewed it back up, and a couple of weeks ago, I guess I popped one stitch on the dura, and I did not know. I had no idea. On Thursday, 3 Thursdays ago, I thought I was sweating really bad. I was not sweating really bad. My husband looked at my back, and he's like, we need to go to the hospital, because there was all this clear fluid leaking out of a spot, like a crack in my back. Nobody wants to hear that, right? To make a very weird, long story short, I was leaking spinal fluid, which is apparently not as emergent, not as much of an emergency as I had thought it would be, because it freaked me out. Like, I was terrified we called my doctor's office, the neurosurgeon's office, and they said that they'd give us an appointment right at 8 a.m. in the morning. And I didn't want to wait. Like, no, that seems like not a good thing. So we went to the ER, and we ended up the ER that my neurosurgeon, he works at the hospital at, and we waited there for like a long time, a very long time, and it was very uncomfortable, and I was very frustrated, and we had almost left because we figured, well, if we have to wait this long, by the time they see us, it's going to be 8 a.m. We can just go see my neurosurgeon. But eventually they did get us back in, and as soon as they figured out my CSF was leaking, they had no problem admitting me. So they admitted me to the hospital. They did a CAT scan. They did an MRI. Basically, I was admitted on Thursday, and by Monday I had had surgery to close back up the dura. And they had to bring in plastic surgery to basically, this is exactly the motion that the doctors use with me, to like bring in my back muscles to help close the dura. I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but I do know that it hurt. And I do know that there were a lot of questions about, am I still leaking? Am I going to have more issues because everything's not closed up? So I had the surgery on Monday. I was in the hospital until not that Thursday, but the following Thursday. So I was in there for 2 weeks. And whenever they let me out of the hospital, they still have no clue if I'm going to be leaking or not, or if I'm... They didn't really know. I have a neurosurgery appointment on Tuesday. I have a CAT scan on next Thursday, and I have to go see plastic surgery on Friday. They didn't really want to let me out of the hospital. They were pretty much content on me waiting there, and that would have been fine, but okay, kind of a gross part. They had drains to drain out liquid that was, so it didn't come out of the wound and aggravate anything, and they took out one drain, but they kept the one drain in, and one team was like, we need to squeeze it. The other team was like, don't squeeze it. They went back and forth. And then when they decided not to squeeze it, every time the team came in to look at the drain, then they would squeeze it and like it would fill back up. And like the other team was like, you can't do that. Just use gravity. And then back and forth and back and forth. And eventually I had asked, well, if it's spinal cord fluid, is the drain being in there going to help anything? Will it eventually stop? Or is this just kind of like delaying the inevitable? You're going to have to take the drain out to see what happens. And the doctors eventually did agree, but I think that there was just a little bit of miscommunication on what they wanted to do. And being in the hospital for 2 weeks is really tough. I don't recommend it for anyone. I'm still not really sure if I'm going to have to go back to the hospital, like after the neurosurgery appointment, after the CAT scan, or after plastic surgery. And I know that my daughter will be brokenhearted if I have to go, because it's Easter. Easter is coming up. And she was so happy. She keeps saying, oh, I'm so happy you're home for Easter. And it's like, really? Did this really have to happen? I'm going to have to wrap myself in bubble wrap, right? Because I don't understand how I popped the stitch. Especially if my surgery was in November and I popped it in March. Like, How did I do that? I don't know. I told them that I'm going to be so cautious doing everything. And then my neurosurgeon goes, don't be by anybody who smokes. Coughing is going to be very bad. You don't want to cough. So now I'm going to be terrified to cough for the next 2 years. A nutritionist came by and gave me like a list of high protein, low carb stuff that I should be eating. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to eat all the protein now because all I want is for everything to heal up and be okay. Let's see. So that was the hospital drama. And if I disappear sometime in the future for a couple more weeks, you guys know why. It's just going to be what it is. So as for reading and watching, I watched 22 seasons of The Simpsons while I was in the hospital. Now, I have no attachment to The Simpsons other than there are 34 seasons and I could just keep it on in the background and not pay much attention to it. And that was what I needed. I have still been trying to find a book that I can sit through, and I'm not having much luck. I haven't read a whole book for the last couple of weeks. I have rented books and started listening to them and returned them because I couldn't get into them no matter how hard I tried. The narrator's wrong, or I don't like the story, or I just can't concentrate right now. That's pretty much been it for me. Like I said, I highly recommend this pattern, and I will put up, I should have put up what the pattern was. It was very fun to make, and it only took me a couple of hours. This is actually I believe the smallest size for it's one smaller than the smallest size for my daughter. If you get the pattern, you'll know what I mean. But like I said, I had made it in a size, one size I can't talk today. One size larger yarn, so it called for DK and I used worsted. I did like how this touch of alpaca yarn worked up in this hat. It's very nice. It's soft and I was really impressed with it. And it's also got kind of a pretty halo there. I used a 2x2 rib on this because the pattern called for that, and I don't really ever use 2x2 rib, but I like how it came out. And my daughter does too. The Musselburgh, I swear. I am so happy this pattern came out. What a good use for sock yarn, especially one skein that you have, that you got because it looks pretty. I do that a lot. I'll get one skein of sock yarn and go, hey, I'm going to use that to make a hat. I have about a zillion one skein sock yarns that I'm like, hey, I want to use that to make a hat. So that's what I'm trying to do this year. That's why one of my goals is like to always have a Musselburgh on the needles. I can't wait to send that off to my aunt. I hope she likes it. They look great. This is really coming up bright on the camera. It is a little bit less bright. It's more like, it's darker than bubblegum pink. That's actually a pretty good color. Oh, I love the halo. One day I'm going to make a sweater, like a flax from this combination of yarn, just because it's so soft. I feel like if I did that, I would never take it off though. Anyways, I hope that you guys have had an awesome like couple of weeks. I should hopefully be, barring like anything bad happening at the appointments, keep your fingers crossed for me, because I really don't want to go back to the hospital if I can avoid it. I'm on antibiotics right now, again. And if I can stay out of the hospital and they can get everything healed up from home, I would like really appreciate it, because it's hard to sleep in the hospital. They wake you up every like 2 hours to take vitals or give you medicine. And I know they have to, but nothing beats being able to sleep the whole night and sleep in and be with your family. So I like to think that that's good healing energy, right? Just being with your family and being able to sleep and be comfortable. But if I have to go back to the hospital, I will. So anyways, I hope that you guys have had like an awesome couple of weeks. I hope that you've got a lot of knitting in and a lot of crochet or whatever craft of your choice. I'm glad and super happy that you decided to show up and take a look at my video this week. I know that it's been very weird and a lot different from normal, but please forgive me. It's kind of weird. It's been a weird couple of weeks. So I hope that I will see you next week, and please take care until then. Thank you. Bye.